with allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of America,
and the republic for which
the
it stands,
which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to go to item number 3. Roll call, please, Ms. Queen.
Yes. Commissioner Boyle?
Yes.
Commissioner Rupp?
Present.
Commissioner Hunter?
Present.
Vice Chair Cutler?
present,
Commissioner Vey?
present,
Chair Barden?
Present.
Commissioner Rates? And Commissioner Airy will be absent today.
Great. Thank you. And Commissioner Vey will be participating in the vote today. Is that correct then, as an alternate? Okay, thank you. All right, moving right along. Next item up is item number 4, which is the minutes of the Tuesday, January 21st meeting, which you recall was the last meeting we had prior to the COVID pandemic and all the impacts it had to the scheduling of the meetings. You received an email previously about the meeting that was held a couple of weeks or last month, and that was not, the city attorney wanted us to redo some of that. So we only have the minutes for the meeting from January 21st that we are looking at approving today.
Correct.
The items that were considered last month, some of them have to be redone this month. So I'm looking for a motion for the minute, to approve the minutes from January 21st,
So
2020.
moved.
Commissioner Rates, is there a motion? Do I have a second?
second,
Okay, thank you. Any discussion of those minutes? Hearing none, please vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 aye,
Who was it that called the second, please? That seconded that motion?
Darren Vey,
Commissioner Vey. Thank you, Commissioner Vey. And the vote was unanimous. Was there any opposed? Hearing none, that was unanimous for the minutes. Thank you. Next item up is item number 5, public communications. There's no members of the public are allowed in the council chambers under the current protocols. However, do we have any public comments to be read into the record, or any speakers who wish to speak today before the commission?
We do not have any today.
Okay, thank you very much. We're moving on to item number 6, and this is where we kind of get into the meat of the agenda today. So I know we've got a couple presentations. I believe these presentations, Ms. Lindsay Leahy is going to give them, and I believe these presentations, the folks who are calling in, they've got access to these either through PowerPoint or online in some manner, so they'll be able to track along with you. Is that's correct?
That is correct, Commissioner Barden.
Okay, with that, it's item 6A, the Advanced Metering Infrastructure Award of Contracts. And I know under our items for consideration, we do have these as action items. So this is a presentation on an item we'll consider taking action on later in the agenda. So with that, good afternoon, Ms. Leahy. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioners. Lindsay Leahy, Principal Water Engineer, here today to present the Advanced Metering Infrastructure Award of Contract. This is a fairly large item, so I'll try to take it slow. There are 11 actions under this single item, all encompassing the AMI project as a whole. The first item is a single public works agreement with Ferguson Construction for $15,815,255. The second allows the city engineer to execute change orders up to 10% of Ferguson's contract value. The third is an agreement with Utiliworks for $1,455,180 for construction management program management services throughout the implementation of the AMI project. The next 5 items are all license agreements and software purchases, as well as 3-year service contracts for the project to get us through the initial implementation and the first 3 years of the project. Item number 9 is a purchase order for $500,000 with Core and Main for the purchase of large water meters. Item number 10 is the confirmation of a categorical exemption under CEQA for the project. And item 11 is city manager or designee executing the agreements and the purchase orders. Some background on this project. In June of 2016, Council adopted our Urban Water Management Plan and our Water Conservation Master Plans. Both of these plans listed AMI as an integral project in order to increase water conservation and efficiencies within the city's service area and comply with some of our state mandates. In April of 2017, Council approved a contract to begin a feasibility study. And in November of 2017, that feasibility study was completed, showing that AMI was not only a viable project, but that there were plenty of benefits to move forward and implement this project. In April of 2019, Council authorized staff to apply for a grant with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, and $1.5 million was awarded to the project for the grant. Again, in October of 2019, Council authorized staff to apply for the same grant for the next fiscal year, and again was awarded a $1.5 million grant for the project. In November of 2019, Council approved a contract amendment with the Utiliworks for the negotiation support through the procurement phase of the contract. So Utiliworks was on board through the feasibility study, and we kept them on to help with negotiations with the contractors. In June 17th, 2020, we brought this item to Council, and Council a motion to approve the AMI contract failed in a 2-3 vote with Council. However, a secondary motion was unanimously approved for staff to return to Council after more information was provided and we were able to answer some of their additional questions. July 30th of 2020, staff provided a capital program staffing plan memo to Council to describe the staffing changes that are going to be affected by the implementation of the large capital program that we have going on here. And on August 10th of 2020, staff provided an AMI updated project benefits and business case memo to Council, again, updating all of the project benefits and cost benefits of this project, providing additional information and answering the questions that Council had provided to staff. There are multiple state mandates that align with this project. The first being SB 555, which requires water utilities to complete annual water audits. These require us to evaluate hidden losses within our systems and use proactive leak detections. Additionally, SB X7-7 requires a 20% reduction in urban water per capita use throughout the service area. This is also known by the 20 by 2020 mandate. So this goal was reached prior to the end of this fiscal year. However, because we are seeing water use rebound after the drought and after all the conservation efforts, we are seeing that water use increase again, that this is a beneficial project to help residents make sure that they're self-mandating, self-regulating their water use within the area. And this is needed to comply into the future. So this isn't just a goal that we had to meet by the end of this calendar year. This is something that we will continue to have to meet. And finally, SB 606 requires an urban water use objective calculation, which After we calculate our urban water use objectives, we then have to submit an annual report, and we have to document the implementation of water use performance measures and the progress towards these goals. So AMI is a water conservation and efficiency method that will allow us to more easily meet these water use objectives that the state's requiring of us. And the same thing goes for SB 555. The AMI system will allow users and the city to better identify leaks and provide more of a proactive response to be able to help conserve water on the user's end. So what is AMI? AMI, or Advanced Metering Infrastructure, is the integrated system of smart meters, communication network, and data management systems that enables a two-way communication between the utility and the customers. So this allows us to provide information back to our customers, as well as them giving us the data to be able to help monitor and help them conserve more water on their end. There are multiple benefits for the AMI project, the first being enhanced customer service. As I mentioned, we'll be able to be more proactive as far as providing water use data. Customers will be able to see their continued use, so a regular pattern. If there's any continuous use for more than 24 hours, that will come up. Customers will be able to set up alerts and not be surprised by their monthly bill when they see a high water usage one month, and that's the only way that they'll be able to identify a leak. We'll be able to reduce water consumption and increase water conservation and efficiencies. So again, this goes back to being able to easily identify and more quickly identify leaks on the customer side of the meter and be able to notify those customers so that they can make sure that they're handling the problem on their end. Again, this includes timely leak detection, our real-time water consumption data, where they'll be able to see that in near real time up to a couple hours, as well as customizing those alerts. Another benefit of this project is we'll be able to replace our aging infrastructure. A lot of our meters within the system are 15 years or older, and as meters start to get older, they begin to slow down on their read. So customers are using water, but it's not necessarily registering on their meter, so we aren't able to track that. This will allow us to be able to replace those meters as a whole, as well as keep a single technology within our system, so we don't have multiple different technologies throughout the city. This will improve our efficiency in our city's billing process by automating it and taking out the human error and the people walking around the city on a daily basis, walking miles every day and reading these meters manually. This will improve our city's personnel safety by taking our meter reading staff off of the streets and repurposing them into other jobs that are created as part of this project. Then it will reduce our workers' comp claims, reduce any injuries or exposures to those staff members. This will reduce our greenhouse gases and comply with our city's climate action plan. We'll be removing vehicles off the streets, reducing the miles driven per day, and be saving the environment that way. And finally, this will align with our state mandated water conservation efforts and initiatives. AMI is considered an industry best practice. Currently, there are multiple methods that are also aligned with AMI. One is AMR, which is an automatic meter reading, which allows a vehicle to drive within the vicinity of the meter, and the meter's picked up and the meter read is read. There's also a touch read technology, which still requires the meter worker to walk the routes and physically touch a wand to the meter itself to gather that read. All three, AMI, AMR, and touch read, are the current best practices within the industry. However, AMI does use that automated system, which reduces the staff time and reduces the presence on the streets. So currently, USBR has a grant for water and energy efficiency, which are the two grants that we've applied for and been awarded. Of those grants, of the projects that have been applied for, 30% of those projects nationally have been AMI projects. So the USBR has been recognizing that these projects are considered the current best practices as well as meet the water and energy efficiency needs as recognized by their program. Furthermore, 64% of the projects that are awarded just in California are AMI projects. So again, supporting that this is something that is being done across the nation as well as across the state. Of the 21 agencies within the San Diego County Water Authority, 15 of the 21 have or are currently in the process of implementing either AMI or AMR or converting from a touch read. Oceanside is one of the 6 still performing manual reads within the area. The AMI scope includes water meter replacements. This includes residential, commercial, as well as irrigation. It will replace broken meter box lids as needed and broken meter boxes as needed, and then all of the meter box lids will be replaced as they'll need a new antenna that goes on top of the box. This will include a communications network, which I'll expand on. It will include a meter data management system. So all of the meter reads that are coming in every hour, every couple hours, that will come into a meter data management system and be filtered. This system will also identify anomalies. As those anomalies are recognized by the system, it will request an additional read. And this will allow for us to be able to identify any issues with the meter itself, the communication network, or identify any leaks or excessive water use by the user. This will include integration with our existing systems. We wanted to make sure that the new system would seamlessly integrate with our billing system, our GIS system, our Lucity, which is our asset management program, as well as WaterSmart, which is a billing software, a meter data software that we already have implemented for customers to be able to track their water use. And this will also include 3 years of service and maintenance of those licenses and softwares. So the communications network consists of a radio network. There will be these small network boxes that will be located onto existing city infrastructure, which is a nice plus of this project. There will be no additional infrastructure that will have to be placed, no additional antennas, other than these data collectors here. There's only 29 data collectors going to be added throughout the entire service area of the city. These collectors use a network called the LoRa network, and this is a pretty general network that also has the ability to have other uses. So, for instance, if we have a SCADA system, so we have a lift station in an area of the city where we don't get good service for our SCADA communications network, we could enable that piece of equipment to connect to this system and piggyback off of this existing system in order to get that data from that area that may have a bad connection. And again, this won't have any additional antennas. It'll use our existing light poles, existing antennas that we have for our other SCADA networks, and our existing facilities at our treatment plants. One thing I did want to note on the network is the radio frequencies for these meters and for the data collectors is very, very small. So the cell phone that we carry in our pockets on a daily basis emit up to 58,000 times more radio frequencies than these meters will. Additionally, your meter is always, at the edge of your property line. It's pretty rare that you're in that close of contact with that meter, as opposed to the cell phone that, again, we carry quite close to our person. So Oceanside wanted to make sure that this project really met our needs. It's a one-time project that we will only really be taking on once every 15 to 20 years. So we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a boilerplate process that every agency does. One of those methods was, again, developing the feasibility study to make sure that that this was a viable project for the city. Next, we wanted to develop our request for qualifications. And so how we did that was we actually collaborated with all the city departments that would be involved in this. This includes finance, IT, public works, our billing system, all of our meter services staff, and really get to know what their needs are, because everyone's going to be involved in this project. We also reached out and learned from other successfully completed projects within the state. So this includes City of Santa Rosa, Alevinheim, Western Municipal, and Eastern Municipal Water District, just to name a few. We've reached out to other agencies as well, but these four really closely aligned with the billing systems that we have and similar geography and customer base that the City of Oceanside has. So we were able to learn from, their mistakes, the things they would have done better, and the things that they would do again. One thing we really wanted here was a single prime contractor. We didn't want to have 20 different entities, one responsible for the network, one responsible to install, one responsible to purchase the meters. We wanted a single contract to encompass the entire project. So then we issued a request for proposal. After we received the request for qualifications and received the initial qualifications from many firms, we then had the request for proposals and conducted interviews. So in that, and I will back up, we did receive 14 qualifications from different firms. Of that, we shortlisted 6 firms to submit cost proposals and conduct interviews. Each interview we conducted with these firms were 3+ hours and included a representative from each one of the city departments. After we selected the firms that would best meet our needs, we entered negotiations of the scope and price. So we really wanted to make sure that the scope that they had provided in their proposals met all of our needs. And then we were also able to negotiate the prices with them in association with that scope change. And again, just to reiterate that one of the benefits of the contractor we selected as well as the network is we were able to only use the existing city facilities, where some of the other networks and types of systems that were proposed required us to construct tall communications towers and use other different types of facilities within the city. So for our project contracts, we had, again, a single prime contractor, which is Ferguson. So Ferguson will be subcontracting and purchasing all of the materials for all of the small meters, installing all of the meters, contracting with the communications network, and responsible for installing that communications network. We have a single program manager, which is UtiliWorks. We will be contracting with an AMI network specialist, essentially like a owner's representative, to be able to assist in the integration of these new systems with our existing systems. And then we are on the side going to be contracting and purchasing the large meters from Core and Main. The reason for this is Core and Main provides the majority of our large meters within the city, and in order to standardize those meters, it made more sense to purchase directly from them. This also allowed us to have a cost savings by not having the purchase run through the prime contractor, who would have marked up that purchase. And finally, again, the other contracts included in this item are software and licensing contracts. The point or the reason to have a direct contract with them is these are actually services and firms that we have existing licenses and services with, including our billing systems and our communication systems. So having the extended life and maintenance contracts with them directly rather than through the contractor made more sense, because the contractor, once they're done installing and implementing the project, they're going to go on their way, and it made more sense to have those license and maintenance agreements directly with the service providers. There is a lot of project outreach on this. This is one of those unique projects where we will be involved in every single customer and resident in the city. So one of the things we really wanted to focus on was having this separate outreach contract, which was an existing contract in place with NV5. We will also be developing a project website for this specifically to have all of the information, provide updates, and for customers to be able to access directly and get more information when they have questions. We will be sending out mailers and postcards as well as bill inserts to be able to provide more information and let customers know that this project is coming. We'll also have brochures available, again, for customers at counters, pre-COVID counters, and available within our city trucks to be able to hand out to customers. We will be working with our contractor and training them in communicating with our city and our residents. They'll be trained on the project specifics. They'll have these information cards as well as frequently asked question cards. And they will be able to provide additional contact information in case there are questions that come up that they're unable to answer. They can reach a city staff member directly. And finally, we will be training our city staff call center to be able to directly answer questions specific to this project. One thing that we felt was important, because we're going to have these installers go to each one of the residents and commercial businesses within the area, was having a contractor that had a very specific look, as well as had proper identification, so that we can, so residents could easily identify who they are and what project they're with. Concord is a sub to Ferguson and will be doing the installation of the meters. So they are a uniformed group. They have ID badges, they have marked vehicles, and all of this information will also be included on all of our informational flyers as well as on the website. So if a resident is concerned that someone just came to their front yard and is on their property replacing their meter, they're able to either access a city website or city information and or call into the city to confirm that this person does in fact work for the city. There'll be two separate types of coordination with customers. So the first being with residential customers. So they will receive mailers about a week or two before the meter replacement is actually going to take place in their neighborhood. They will receive a door hanger identifying when that will be taking place in their area. On the day that the meter is going to be replaced, the meter replacement worker will actually go to the door and make one-on-one contact or attempt to make one-on-one contact. By knocking on the door, this will allow that person to know whether or not someone is at the residence and using the water. And also let them know what they're about to be doing so that they're not in the middle of something and going to have their water shut off. If no one does answer the door, they will make sure that the meter is not running before shutting off the meter. The installer will also take site photos, so a before and after of the area to document all of the landscaping around, the before and after conditions. They'll take photos of the existing meter and the last meter read before that meter is replaced, as well as the serial number of that meter. And then once the new meter is installed, they'll again take a picture of the new meter serial number, and the current meter read. So that allows us to have a good documentation of the last meter read versus the new meter read, so that we can solve any meter reading discrepancies during the conversion quite easily. The commercial customers will involve a little bit more of an involved process. So the commercial customers are difficult to shut off. We don't want to be shutting off our commercial customers of water, so we really want to coordinate around their business hours. What we will be doing, because these meters are typically, these are 3-inch and larger meters, so they're quite involved. We will be doing a site survey of the area and open up the vault, take all of our measurements, make sure that we have all of the pieces of equipment that we're going to need for this specific site, because each site is very unique. That will allow us to make sure that the time that we are going to go in there and physically replace the meter, we will be prepared and have everything we need so that that customer is shut off as little as possible. Additionally, most of these meters already have a bypass. So we can actually bypass that water, and so that the customer is not actually out of water while we're replacing the meter. And if it is a customer that does not have a bypass and still needs the water available, we either can do the replacement while they're not in business and currently closed, and or we can provide a physical bypass, a high-lined bypass to that business so that they're not shut out of water. We will do specific coordinating and scheduling efforts with them and be working hand in hand with those customers. And one other thing to note is, especially during COVID right now and with the school closures, we have had our meter staff going through the city and attempting to go and replace the large meters and upgrade the large meters physically, not necessarily with the network, but with the compatible meters while those schools are out. So this will avoid any impacts to those schools when they do, if they do come back in session. As far as environmental, so the California Environmental Quality Act has multiple categorical exemptions, which this project aligns with 3 of those categorical exemptions. Class 1, 2, and 4 include minor alterations to existing public facilities, replacement or reconstruction of existing structures or facilities, and minor public alterations in the conditions of land, water, or vegetation. All 3 of these class categorical exemptions, our consultants have confirmed that these do align with those exemptions, and any further environmental documents are not required for this project. Additionally, because of the grant efforts we've pursued, the grants are federal, so we have to comply also with the National Environmental Policy Act, which includes a categorical exclusion. The categorical exclusion has been confirmed by the Bureau of Reclamation. If the contract is awarded on August 19th, we would have a program kickoff at the end of August of 2020. We would begin the AMI network install in fall of 2020, and the install and the testing would continue through summer of 2021. So just about a year to do the initial install and testing. And then after that install and testing, we would upgrade all of the city meters citywide. And so this will take about 1.5 years to complete that, 2 years to complete that. The initial install and testing, we will do different types of meters, both residential and commercial meters throughout different areas of the city, and just do a handful of meters to replace those. They will still be manually read while we install the communication network and do testing. Once we have confirmed that those selected meters are working within the system and that the system has gone through all of its proper testing, and only at that time will the full upgrade and implementation begin. And we will be looking for volunteers if you'd like to volunteer your meter for that implementation and testing stage. So one thing I wanted to point out is, again, I had mentioned earlier that the city's meters, there's about 60+% that are about 15 years old or older within the service area. So one thing that is needed is, whether we do AMI or not, we need to do a meter replacement project. It's time for these meters to be replaced. And since about 2016, when this project started, we started the feasibility study efforts. In anticipation of this project, the city has been slowing down the meter replacements so that we could do a wholesale replacement of meters and have all of the meters on the same technology. So this graph here, or this table, outlines the cost comparison between an AMI project and a meter replacement only project. So with the total estimated construction costs for AMI being just over $20 million and a meter replacement project being about $13.8 million. However, with the AMI project, we have been awarded $3 million worth of grants, bringing that project cost to just over $17 million. Those grants, if we do not move forward with an AMI project, we would be forfeiting that money. Additionally, there is another grant effort that if this project is awarded on August 19th, we will be pursuing that grant effort, which has a potential of being awarded up to an additional $2 million. The current grant awards cover about 15% of the project cost currently. If we were awarded the additional $2 million, we would have about 25% of this project's cost covered by federal grants. So the comparison is about $15.1 million for an AMI project if those grants are awarded versus the $13.8 million if we were to just be doing a meter replacement project. With both of these projects, there are benefits and cost benefits to them. The majority of these outlined are qualitative benefits. These were included in the original feasibility study, which council had questions on. After further analysis over the last 2 months, we wanted to identify that these are actual benefits, but they're more qualitative than cost benefits. Most of these will align more with staff having more time to do other parts of their job. So where we will have customer call reductions, it won't allow us to actually reduce the number of call staff that we have on hand. And in turn, it will just allow that call staff to be able to answer other calls or spend time on other city needs. This is true for all of those items outlined within the AMI qualitative benefits column there. In total, the AMI project recognizes approximately a $2.867 million annual benefit if that project is implemented. The meter replacement only project has about a $2.3 million project benefit. The couple items that I do want to point out is initially the top line, which is the meter reading reduction. This shows that there'll be approximately $670,000 saved annually. This is based off of reduced labor from city staff, reduced vehicles, gas mileage, as well as workers' compensation claims. In turn, if we do not proceed with an AMI project, over the last couple years, we have been taking through natural attrition as people are leaving or being promoted to other positions within the city and a meter services position becomes available. We've taken a few of those positions and converted them to part-time or hourly extra help positions. So they're not full-time employees. This helps save with benefits and also helps us that when we do implement this project and have to do a reduction in staff, that we wouldn't be laying off any full-time employees. So if we were only to do a meter replacement project and not implement AMI, we would actually have to convert those hourly extra help and temporary positions back to a full-time position, which would be an extra cost to the city of about $94,000 per year. The revenue capture from the aging meters would be a benefit seen by both projects. So again, these are new meters. They're going to be reading more accurately. And this would increase the revenue to the city and to the department, which is then used for future capital projects. So both of these are the exact same benefit between the two projects. This is the same for wastewater recovery. As you may know that we base our wastewater costs and fees off of the water usage and your winter quarterly average on your bills. So with that increased accuracy of the meter reading for the water use will reflect into our increased revenues from our wastewater. Both projects will also include a meter scrap revenue. This is a one-time benefit. And then we will both will have a benefit of an annual meter replacement budget. So this is the budget we set aside annually to be able to go and replace meters, replace components, boxes. So because we'll be doing this as a wholesale, this is a benefit that we'll receive for the first 8 years of the project. Additionally, I did want to include that there will be that annual operating expenses of about $175,000 for the AMI project. So these are the software licenses and maintenance contracts. So that's going to be an annual expense that we will be seeing. But as you see, there's approximately a $600,000 additional benefit to AMI than the meter replacement only project. With the two being similar in costs, with the AMI project being about $17.1 million and the meter replacement project being about $13.8 million, and these noted benefits, both of them have approximately a 9-year return on investment. So both have similar returns on these investments, with the added benefits of all of the qualitative benefits to the city operations, as well as the increased benefits to our customers and their customer service we can provide. That is why the city and staff is still recommending to proceed with AMI. For the fiscal impact, so there's a current available balance of $4.2 million, with about $3 million awarded in grants. We have identified future appropriations for city budgets through the normal budget process of $9 million in 21-22 and about $5.5 million in 22-23, giving us a total budget available pending those future appropriations of about $22.1 million. Again, the funding sources for this project is our water revenue bonds, which were issued just last month, user rates and developer fees, as well as the grant funds. So if we do receive any additional grant funds, that will directly offset any city cash and or the funds from the water revenue bond proceeds. And so we'll be offsetting that with those grant funds if we receive the additional $2 million. This is the same costs that was on a previous slide, showing that the total impact or fiscal impact for the AMI project is about $20.1 million, showing that we will have enough money to pay for this project through the process. And with that, staff recommends that the 11 items are approved, and I am available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Leahy. That was quite a report. You can take a breath and have a drink of water. I know that we do have an item later on to consider action on this, but are there any questions for Ms. Leahy at this time from any of the commissioners? Any comments or questions on that presentation?
I have a couple of questions. When you were talking about adding 29 additional, I guess, like you would call repeaters in the city, will we have to upgrade the repeaters that we already have out there, or are they going to be compatible with the ones that we will be adding?
Thank you, Commissioner Rates. Commissioners, so these will be data collectors. They will be brand new data collectors. So it won't be replacing any existing infrastructure. They will be brand new. They do have a lifespan. I don't remember off the top of my head what that lifespan is, but that would be something that down the line, maybe in 10 years or so, we would have to replace. But those would be all 29 brand new data collectors.
But you said we already had some already positioned, correct?
We have existing antennas and light poles that we will be connecting the data collectors to.
So you're connecting them to those?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we will be physically attaching them to our existing communication towers and light poles.
Okay.
So the boxes are really only like I'm going to use hand gestures here, but about I'm going to say 2 by 1 by 1 foot area. They're pretty small to be up on the light poles.
Okay. The other question that I had to do with, you were talking about the implementation of software, and that software would take about a year to implement before we would actually put in the actual meters. That's just so that the few meters that we do put in, to make sure that they are compatible, they're working, and they are talking to one another and all that stuff. Am I assuming correctly?
The initial handful of meters, just for the sake of conversation, about, let's say 200 meters.
Right.
Will be installed and replaced at the same time as that communication network is being installed. And then they'll be tested at the same time. So that whole period from beginning to end should take about a year to complete that first phase.
Correct. So in doing that, say there is an upgrade or there is additional, or they find out there's additional software that we could use, will they be giving that to us without cost, or would we have to pay for that? Because you have a 10% in the contract where it can go up 10%.
So it would depend on what that was. So we could either, because we will have a license and maintenance agreement for the first 3 years, I would assume that most likely a software upgrade or something similar would be included in that maintenance agreement. If it was a physical change in equipment that required an additional component, then yes, we could use that 10% contingency to fund that.
Okay, last but not least, because I'm part of this 1%, I would say, of HOAs that you're going to be having to deal with, where we have 1 meter, and we do have a bypass. So I'm assuming that we will be on bypass while you're changing out that 1 meter that we have.
That would be correct, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Rates. Any other question or comments at this time on the presentation from any other commissioners?
This is Vice Chair Cutler. I had a couple of questions as well.
Okay, go ahead, Vice Chair.
So the first question I had was with respect to Utiliworks based out of Baton Rouge for the construction management. I realized when this was originally negotiated, this was before COVID-19. So my question is, will they still be able to provide the support for the project? Do they have local resources in terms of construction management to support the project from Louisiana?
Commissioner Cutler, I'm just going to repeat your question to make sure I heard it correctly. You're asking if Utiliworks is going to stay on board through the implementation of the project as a construction manager?
Correct. And can they support it from Louisiana, or do they have local resources?
Yes, so agreement number 3 will be with them for the program management, and yes, they will have a physical presence here in Oceanside through the implementation of that project.
Okay. My second question was with respect to some of the software and licensing. Will the terms of those licensing support start when the first meter is commissioned, or will it start when the contract is negotiated and executed?
The terms of the maintenance agreements will begin once the initial install is completed. So the 3-year maintenance agreement essentially will get us through the install and implementation of the project. At that time, we will have to negotiate a next agreement terms.
My second question was... Okay, and then I had one more question with regard to the schedule, and I think in the agenda report it talked about the first phase being completed by November 2022. And so my question was, does that comply with the grant funding that we received? It had a September 2022 deadline.
We anticipate that the first phase will be completed by that November timeframe, if not sooner. Had the contract been awarded back in June, then the deadline with the contractor was September 2022. Again, we anticipate that we should meet that deadline. If we are not going to hit it and it ends up being November, we can request an extension from the grant administrators.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any further questions at this time? We do have this item again later on in the agenda, so if there's any questions, you can maybe hold them. Hearing none, thank you again, Ms. Leahy, for that presentation, and we will be moving on to the next item, which I believe is the next presentation by Ms. Leahy again. And this is item 6B, which is the 2 wells and the brine optimization design professional services agreement. A professional services agreement for wells and brine optimization. Okay, Ms. Leahy, once again, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioners. So today, staff recommends that the Commission and/or Council approve the professional service agreement with GHD Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $1,789,409 for design and engineering during construction support. And finally, in addition to that, authorize the city manager to execute the professional service agreement. Council has given the department a goal to increase our local water supply to 50% by the year 2030. So this is a project that, while it's not one of our larger projects like pure water and recycled water, it does meet those goals and have an increase of our local water supply. The addition of the 2 production wells will increase our supply by approximately 450 acre-feet per year. And it's anticipated that the addition of the brine minimization would increase our local supply by 431 acre-feet per year. Background on this is in April of 2016, the department was awarded a grant from USBR to complete a feasibility study and some pilot testing for this technology. In July of 2018, the department was also awarded a grant for $2.6 million to proceed with the design and construction of the 2 additional production wells and the 3rd stage reverse osmosis based on the pilot testing results. And in April 16th, 2020, staff released an RFP, a request for proposals, for the design and engineering support. And on May 15, 2020, the proposals were received and evaluated. A quick overview of the area. If you're not familiar, the Mission Basin Groundwater Purification Facility is located between the San Luis Rey River and the 76 near the old swap meet, is circled with the blue circle on the image. In the feasibility study, it was determined that there were multiple locations for these future production wells to be located. The most compatible were sites B and C, which are towards the bottom half of that image in yellow, and site E in the orange circle towards the middle of that image. All 3 well locations were identified as potential locations for these production wells. 3 proposals were received for the design of this project, with GHD being the highest ranked based on qualifications as well as cost. The total contract amount for this project includes is $1,789,409. There is an available balance in the project account of just under $3.6 million. And this project account is funded by water sales, meter fees, as well as our 2020 bond proceeds. And as I mentioned, there was a $2.6 million grant that was awarded from U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, and that will be used to reimburse our design and construction costs. And one thing that I'm going to back up and overview is the third stage RO is actually an additional treatment process that will be added to the back end of our existing treatment process at that facility. And what this does is it takes the brine, which is the kind of salty waste that comes out of that treatment process that we usually just send out to the ocean. It'll take that brine and actually run it through an additional treatment train to get a little bit more water out of it. So we'll be removing the same amount of water, or if we remove the same amount of water from the ground, we'll actually be getting more water produced from that source. So this is a nice benefit for that project. And with that, staff recommends that we approve the professional services agreement with GHG for an amount not to exceed $1,789,409 and authorize the city manager to execute the agreements.
That's good. Hi, good afternoon, commissioners. Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, in the absence of any no's, I'm assuming everyone can. This is an action that went to council in April to finalize the strategic plan. So council got the strategic plan final copy, blessed it off. So during this COVID time when we have not had meetings, we thought we would bring this back to you and just give you a sample of some of the actions coming out of the strategic plan. Just to review, we had awarded, or council had awarded, the development of the strategic plan last August of 2019, and then for the probably 6-7 months after that time, staff worked with that consultant team, as well as many of you provided input into the strategic plan to come up with a final product. We have about a 2.5-minute video that we're going to be showing you that just highlights a lot of our staff, a lot of our facilities, and maybe Jordan can talk about whether some of you need to mute at all or how that's going to work. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Jordan, to cue up the video.
Yes, for those of you in person, I will go ahead and play the video. For those of you calling in, I sent you guys a link. So if you guys want to go ahead and stream that while I cue the video, you may want to, you guys are all on mute, so actually you can play it out loud. It won't affect us.
This is the city of Oceanside. It's where we live, work, and play. Oceanside's Water Utility Department provides essential utility services to meet the needs of residents and businesses. Our mission? To protect public health and our environment by providing reliable, cost-effective, and sustainable utility services with dedicated, forward-thinking employees. Each day, we work with pride to ensure the health and sustainability of Oceanside. We maintain over 1,000 miles of pipelines, provide clean and safe drinking water, keep sewer pipes flowing, and strive for zero waste. We operate water reclamation and treatment facilities, preserve our environment, and reclaim wastewater to reuse again to benefit the community. Looking towards the future, we developed a strategic plan that embodies our vision, mission, and values. It allows us to build upon the past and set goals for continued success in the years to come. Our 6 goals include to develop and retain engaged employees and attract top-level talent to join our high-performing team, to ensure financial stability and economical utility services for Oceanside ratepayers, to enhance engagement, convey the value of our services, and foster trust internally and externally, to prioritize and proactively address the needs of new and aging infrastructure and technologies, to protect and preserve natural resources and pursue beneficial reuse, to optimize the use of technology to improve efficiency, data-driven decision-making, and customer interface options. This is the City of Oceanside's Water Utility Department, working with pride to make a vital impact to the health, economy, and everyday life of the people and businesses we serve.
So I hope you like that. Raftales suggested that we do a video. A lot of their clients do a video to kick off the launch of the strategic plan. So we'll be doing that with staff at an all-hands meeting in October. But this is also a nice customer engagement tool to have for the public as well. And I just want to compliment a lot of the staff that were involved in the making of the video. Sarah Davis has taken the lead with one of our consultants to put this together, but a lot of the photographs that you saw, as well as the drone video, were done by in-house staff. So kudos to everybody for really contributing to the video. So this is going to carry us through with a plan for the next 5 years and guide us on a lot of the actions that we'll take as a utility. So wanted to open it up to comments or criticisms, anything anyone wants to say. Thanks.
Sorry. Thank you, Director Dale. That was an excellent video and very exciting to see. Any comments at this point about the strategic plan video from any commissioners? Okay, we're hearing none. Thank you. That's an excellent video. I had one kind of comment or question, I guess, was it's a great video, and you showed us the strategic plan in there, and I know that went to council during our somewhat hiatus during the last 6 months. So where can we locate those? Or members of the public, can they go on the utility department website? Is the plan available for review there yet? Is it available for the public, and that video as well? Are they out there or not yet?
Yeah, it was adopted by the City Council in April, and we did have the previous strategic plan posted on the water utility page. If it's not there already, we'll make sure that it's posted there.
Thank you, Director Dale. Okay, let's move along. We've been here for a while now, an hour, and we've got some items still. Item number 7, committee reports. I don't believe there's been any committee meetings, so there's no committee reports today. Okay, that takes care of that item. Move on to the action items for consideration. So now we're going to circle back to a couple of the items that we heard presentations on. The first item before us today in the agenda is item 8A, and this is the authorization to award the contracts for the advanced metering infrastructure project. That packet is included in the agenda. It looks like through page 7. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to any further discussion or questions or comments on that report and the staff recommendations, that packet that's headed back towards City Council. Any comments, questions from commissioners? Okay, I'm not hearing any. This is a big one. Looks like it's about a $15 million contract, but I think Ms. Leahy did a good job explaining it, and I guess my only comment would be this has been to council once, so does staff feel reasonably confident that the issues that council had with the recommendation previously have been addressed? I know there was a couple staff memos, you discussed them, but they weren't included in our packet here today. So does staff feel comfortable going back to council with the same recommendation, that they've expanded and been able to satisfy council's request for information?
Thank you, Commissioner Barton, commissioners. Staff does feel confident that we have addressed the current questions that we have received from council, and staff is meeting with council for individual briefings next week prior to the council meeting in order to address any additional questions or have conversations about the memos or answer questions that came up from those memos.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Leahy, and thank you, Carrie, for your staff being responsive to the council's request for more information. If there's no further discussion on this item, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion on the staff recommendation.
So moved.
That was Commissioner Rates. Is there a second?
Vice Chair seconds it. Vice Chair Cutler seconds.
Vice Chair Cutler, second. Great. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Are there any further discussion? Any commissioners on this item before I call for the vote? Okay, I'm going to ask for the vote. All those in favor of the staff recommendation on the advanced metering infrastructure project, say aye.
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 And any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, thank you. That motion passes and will move forward to council. Good work on that, staff. We wish you well going forward with council with that recommendation. All right, we're going to move on to item 8B. This is the professional service agreement with GHD that Ms. Leahy spoke of previously in the presentations. This is for design and engineering services during construction on the Mission Basin groundwater purification well expansion and brine minimization phase 1 project. Okay, I'm going to open that one up for discussion. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Leahy? Further comments on that? I think the staff memo is pretty self-explanatory. It's discussion, questions? I'm hearing none through the timing delay, so I'm going to ask for a recommendation on item 8B, the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Commissioner Rates made a motion. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Rupp, seconds.
Repeat that, please.
Commissioner Rupp, seconds.
Commissioner Rupp. Thank you, Commissioner Rupp. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the 8B staff recommendation, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, thank you. That item moves forward. Moving along, item 8C. This is, looks like emergency contract. Staff, do you want to just give us a brief summary of this item? The staff memo is in there. It looks like for emergency standby construction contracts, something of that nature?
Yes, thank you. So staff issued an RFP in order to get construction contractors on board in order to quickly respond to any emergencies that we do have take place. Currently, we go through the process of just getting anyone we can on board in a short turnaround. This would allow the contractors to have their insurance and means of billing in place already to get them started whenever an emergency comes up. So this would have those initial contract values in place with those individual contractors, and then we would still go through the time and materials billing process if and when an emergency project did come up.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to put my microphone back on. Any questions or comments for Ms. Leahy on this item? 8C. Can I entertain a motion to move forward?
So moved.
Commissioner Rates. A second?
Boyle, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Boyle. All those in favor of the staff recommendation on 8C, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, that item passes and is moving forward. Thank you. We're trying to move right along here. Item 8D. This looks pretty straightforward. This is closing out a project and ending the emergency. I don't know if there's any questions for staff on this item on 8D. Any concerns or comments with that one? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Commissioner Rates, motion and a second, please.
Boyle, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Boyle, for the second. So that we have a first and a second for item 8D for the emergency repair terminating at Hamar and accept the repairs from Cast Construction. All those in favor of that item, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Say nay. Hearing none, that item passes. Thank you. Next item is item 8E. This is professional service agreement for SCADA. Are there any comments from staff on this? We have the memo before us. Is there anything that staff would like to add?
Just a brief summary, this is just allowing our SCADA staff, operations staff, some technical expertise to be able to do any problem-solving, troubleshooting on our system that are beyond their skills and or our bandwidth and able to address.
Okay, thank you. Does this replace an existing service contract that we would have for the same type of support?
We have not had an existing
Okay.
contract. This is a new contract to
Okay.
have in place.
All right, thank you. Any questions on this item 8E, the professional service agreement with Tesco for SCADA support services? Would anyone like to make a motion to move that one forward?
So moved.
Commissioner Rates, motion. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Bay, second.
Did you get who that was? Commissioner Rupp again?
No, Commissioner Bay, second.
Vey, Commissioner Vey, Commissioner Danner Vey. Thank you, Commissioner Vey. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor on item 8E, staff recommendation, say aye.
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 Aye. Any
Opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, that item passes. Thank you. Moving forward. We're on item 8F. This is Amendment 1 to Professional Service Agreement with KOCT Consulting, $460,000 to take the contract to $685,000. This is for grant support services, and as you can see, the staff's been very busy getting a lot of grants, so I think these services have been bearing some fruit for us. Are there any comments about this contract or this action that staff would add other than the staff memo?
Just briefly, we did reach out. We have 2 consultants on board to do the grant application process with us, Hoke being one of them. We reached out to both, requested proposals, and Hoke was the lower cost and has proved fruitful through the grant process. So they will be on board to help staff submit the monthly reports, which allow us to get reimbursed and get that cash flow back into our hands.
Okay. And they work with grants, I mean, state, federal, everywhere?
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
Are there any questions or comments about this grant support services, professional service agreement, item 8F? Any comments or questions for staff? Okay, do I have a motion to approve staff recommendation and go forward?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Rates. Do I have a second?
Second, Boyle.
Second, Commissioner Boyle, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing none, that motion passes as well. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our discussion items now. Items 9, discussion item, the selection of the chair and the vice chair. I'm not certain where we are with that. Director Dale, do you have any thoughts or comments on that? Is that something that's going to carry forward still for us? Do we deal with that?
So the way that the bylaws are written, the chair continues until they are replaced by someone. There was some conversation at the last meeting about who might be interested in that. We didn't have a lot of folks stepping forward. There's also no recommendation in the bylaws or no procedure in the bylaws to have the vice chair automatically roll forward to the chair, which is typically how boards and commissions handle those types of positions. We could certainly add something to the bylaws to allow for that in the future, or you could move forward with a selection today to replace Chair Barden if you so choose. It's up to you.
Why do you want it? You don't want it? Turn your mic on, turn your mic on.
I apologize for the mic. Thank you, Director Dale. So there's no impetus that makes it that if we don't act, there's something that we're out of bounds or coloring outside the lines. So if we don't do anything, the status quo remains in effect, is what you're saying. But we could still entertain electing a new chair or vice chair if the commission so desired. Is that an accurate summary?
That's correct.
Okay. With that said, I don't know if today, if the commission is prepared to act on that, particularly with only two of us here today. So I would suggest that we carry this item forward to the next time, to have a little further time to maybe contemplate this at the commission level.
Right.
Whether someone else wants to possibly take on the chair. Is that acceptable for staff at this point?
I accept it.
Okay.
So the question was whether to defer it,
Defer.
Chair Barden?
Yes, but maybe agendize this at our next meeting as well, and we'll try to get to it, maybe, if we don't have such a long meeting, and maybe we can have some discussion.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Other commissioners, actually, I'm sorry, were there other commissioners who had any comments on that before I move off that item? I apologize for moving so quickly. I hope that's acceptable to everyone on that item.
Chair Barton, this is Commissioner Rupp. Do you need a formal motion to continue it?
I don't think we do, Director Dale. It's just a discussion item, so I think just asking staff to bring it back for us to consider at a future time is probably appropriate. Is that okay with staff?
Yes, correct.
Good with me.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, then trying to move right along. The next item is 9B, appointment to a subcommittee. Is this one of the items that we had to redo from the other meeting? And wasn't that taken care of or not? I don't recall.
We have to redo the vote since
Okay.
the last meeting.
So was it Commissioner Hunter was going? Would you recount for me, Ms. Queen, what it is that we had done and we would be voting on today, please?
At the previous meeting, you guys had voted for Commissioner Hunter
Okay.
to fill the vacancy for the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee.
Thank you. I'll entertain that motion again at this meeting now for Commissioner Hunter to be on the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee.
So moved.
A motion from Commissioner Rach. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Rupp, second.
Commissioner.
I know it's tough. Everybody's waiting. What?
Can you please repeat yourself?
Somebody needs to second.
We still need that second because you both spoke at the same time, so we couldn't hear. I apologize. It's just the telephone makes it a little more difficult. We're almost through.
Okay. So this is Commissioner Hunter with a second for that motion.
Commissioner Hunter made the second.
Can't he make a second? I don't think he can. Commissioner, somebody else needs to
We
make a
need someone
second.
besides you, they're saying, because it's you being elected. So was it Commissioner Vey that seconded it before?
Commissioner Rupp seconded as well.
Okay, Rupp.
Vey.
We'll take
Rupp.
Rupp. Thank you.
Commissioner Rupp.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your patience. Yeah. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hunter, thank you. You're now on the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee. Next item was 9C, which was the work plan, which we'd seen last month. It's fairly straightforward. So I don't know if there's any comments or thoughts at this time that staff would want to put in, or that the commissioners would put in. My comment before about the strategic plan was, I think when you see probably the strategic plan that staff has put together, and then you look at these two combined, there's a lot of connectivity there, and while it's only one page of listed items, it covers a lot of activity that goes on at the city. So it may look light, but there's a lot going on there. So those are my comments. I'm going to open it up if anybody else had any other comments. Otherwise, I don't think there's a action that we need to take on this, Director Dale, or not. You're not looking for an action on this, are you?
We're not looking for an action. We'll have this in front of you at the next meeting, probably in track change version. Let me just briefly provide an overview of what was suggested at the last meeting.
Thank you.
We provided the work plan from 2018 through 2020 to all commissioners at the previous meeting and asked for input either via email, phone, or however you'd like to let us know. Of the 11 bulleted actions, there was one suggestion to change number 11, and let me read the suggested language. It is to provide recommendations on major San Luis Rey watershed initiatives and efforts to meet City Council's goal of 50% local water supplies by 2030, such as pure water Oceanside, the recycle water upper and lower systems, and the regional stormwater capture program. There was also a request to add in an additional bullet point pertaining to sea level rise, and the language I've prepared and totally open to suggestions is monitor and provide recommendations on the impacts of sea level rise on utility infrastructure. So if there's any suggestions for any changes beyond those, please let me know so we can incorporate that into the action for the next meeting.
Well, thank you for that report, and thank you, commissioners, for providing that feedback to staff on those items. So I'll open this up for discussion right now to the commissioners on those two proposed changes that were received by staff, as well as any other final thoughts on it, on what's before us today. And if so, any thoughts or comments, further comments on this item?
This is Commissioner Rupp. Just wordsmithing a bit on monitor sea level rise and consider the impacts on utilities. I would almost suggest maybe just consider sea level rise for utility planning purposes rather than monitor, because obviously we're not monitoring sea level rise, but we'll have to consider it. So just some wordsmithing suggestions.
Okay, that's good. That's good input. Any other input? Is that wordsmithing acceptable to staff or maybe the original?
Yes, let me make sure that I have that.
Okay.
I have consider sea level rise for utility planning purposes. Is that correct?
That works. Yes, thank you.
Okay. And that meets the intent then of what the comments were received on that one. Okay. I would just comment on the item 12. I thought modifying that to meet 50%. If the council's got that as an implicit goal or an explicit goal, I'm comfortable having that called out right in there as such, rather than just the diversify, which is a little more generic. So I was fine with that language myself. Any other input for staff? Otherwise, I think Director Dale will bring this back and show us the changes at the next time, incorporating those revisions. Okay, I'm hearing none. Then thank you, commissioners, that provided the input to staff, and thank you, Director Dale, for making those changes, and we'll look forward to seeing the revised one in the future. Okay, getting back to my agenda here. That gets us through item 9C. Okay, we're moving along. Looks like item 10, Council Liaison Report. We do not have Council Member Rodriguez with us today and present, nor is he on the telephone. that's correct, Ms. Queen? He's not here, so we do not have a report today. Item 11 in your packet is a report from the San Diego County Water Authority meeting in July that Commissioner Boyle provided for us, and I'll just open it up for Commissioner Boyle if he had any further items to report on related to the San Diego County Water Authority.
The meeting was pretty meat and potatoes. Hello? Okay. Okay, I'm going to start over again. It was not very eventful, the last meeting. There was a lot of interesting stuff that really wouldn't have any effect on us. But the one big thing that we got was a climate presentation from Scripps Institute by Dan Kayan, and it was pretty good. And aside from that, all the rates things are moving forward and will be heard probably in the September or October meeting. And that's all I have to report.
Okay, very well. Thank you for the report. Move on to... Thank you for the report. We're moving on to item 12, Staff and Water Utility Director items. We had the 12A, the sewer report for the month was included in here from Mr. Popma. And are there any other items from staff or Director Dale that you need to wish to report on at this time?
I have just a couple items. I know we're running short on time here. We did provide you with a couple press releases that went out this month recognizing the utility for the Water Reuse Recycle Water Agency of the Year Award. It was for a small agency. And then also the receipt of $4.565 million in grant funding from the Department of Water Resources for the Pure Water Oceanside project, as well as the Lower Recycle Water project. And then I also wanted Rosemary Tora to speak about another award, the Capio Award, which is from the California Association of Public Information Officials. So Rosemary, are you on the line?
Hi, I wanted to, I'm thrilled to announce that Oceanside has been awarded 3 awards from the California Association of Information Officials. And these EPIC awards recognize the most creative and effective efforts in the areas of communication and marketing campaigns. So we received 1 Excellence in Public Information and Communications Award for our Pure Water Oceanside, for our Communication and Operating Plan, and then also another EPIC Award for the Green Oceanside Kitchen Grand Opening event, which some of you attended back in June of 2019. And then finally, we received 1 overall Best in Show for the Green Oceanside Kitchen Grand Opening. And so I just think that these awards highlight the work that staff is doing to promote some of the projects and work that are going on in our department, and it's very nice to be recognized for them. Thank you.
And in the interest of time, Martine Popma is on the phone if you do have any questions related to the sewer report.
Thank you, Director Dale. Thank you, Rosemary, for that report, and thank you, Mr. Pompa, for standing by. Are there any questions from Mr. Pompa on the sewer reports this month? No, I'm not hearing any, but thank you for being available for questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, that was excellent report from Rosemary. Okay, done with staff's report. Item number 13, Chairman's report. I don't have much to report other than to say that the meeting went well, even though we're working on the phone. So I want to thank everybody for their patience and pulling this together. Staff, the IT guy in the back, and also congratulations, Carrie and staff, on all the hard work and effort that went into getting those awards. That was 4 big ones in just a short period of time. So I know they're well earned and a lot of effort. So well done. Bravo Zulu, as they say in the Navy. And that concludes my report as the chairman. I'm going to open the floor up at this time to item 14 for commissioners' comments. I'll start with Commissioner Rates.
No comment.
Who's here. No comment from Commissioner Rates. And at this point, any other commissioners have any comments before we move to adjournment?
Yeah, I have a quick question. This is Boyle.
Go ahead, Commissioner Boyle.
Can you, yeah. I was wondering, have we ventured at all into testing at our plant for COVID?
Testing?
Yeah.
I'll let Director Dale.
Yeah, I can respond to that. We did have a request to participate in an international study to test for COVID on the influent side of wastewater. Agencies across the nation and the world were testing or taking samples on June 1st of 2020. We did participate at the San Luis Rey plant. They did not find traces of COVID or at detectable levels. And we have not taken any additional tests following that sample.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further commissioner comments or reports?
This is Commissioner Cutler. Just to add to Director Dale's comment, the Orange County Sanitation District is also participating in a similar program with similar results on the liquid side. However, we are finding some presence of COVID in the solid waste side. So the digester biosolids is showing some signs of the COVID.
Gotcha.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us, Commissioner Cutler. That's quite fascinating. Any further commissioner comments? Hearing none, I'm going to move to item 15 and adjourn to the next regularly scheduled Utilities Commission meeting, which will be held on Tuesday, September 15th at 3:30 p.m. Thank you all for your participation today. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.